Hi, this is Summer with Summer's Tips and Stitches.
In today's video, I'm going to be talking to you about what I'm packing on my carry-on to go to Alaska. So this is just going to be a quick rundown of all the things that I am packing with me to entertain me on my flight. We'll be leaving Appleton and going to Minnesota for the first bit of our journey, and that's about an hour flight. And then we'll be flying from Minnesota to Anchorage, and that will be about a 5-hour flight. I haven't decided if that includes the time change or not, but that's what it says on the tickets and stuff. And then it's a 3-hour drive from Anchorage to Seward, where we'll be. So we need a lot to entertain ourselves on the passage. So I thought I would just quick show you all the things that I'm bringing, also some of the stuff to entertain while in Alaska, because we're not necessarily going on like one of these travel agency planned vacations. We are visiting family that lives in Anchorage or lives in Seward, and we will be doing obviously some of the things. Seward is like a tourist community. It's right on the ocean. So there are a lot of activities we'll be doing, but we'll also be having like downtime, hanging out at the house and all that kind of jazz. So the first thing I have are some books that I'm bringing with me. I've been reading through the Bridgerton series. This is Hyacinth's story. I want to say like seventh of the book series. I've been ordering these off of Amazon, and I buy the older ones, the older covers, because they're a little cheaper, not much, than the new ones, because these were written obviously first, and then Netflix made them into a TV show, and then they re-released all the books. I have actually a mix of the old and new, but anyway, I can put a link in the description. I'm reading possibly this on my way. I also am bringing along my next book in the Outlander series. This is book 6. I just finished The Fiery Cross. Now, I started that at the end of last summer and very slowly worked my way through it, and I finally finished it. I think once this summer break started, I was about this much left, and I just finished that. I want to say maybe yesterday or the day before. And so this is the next book in the series. It's actually the last that's listed here, but she wrote more. Because I think this one is copyrighted even, well, I can't really find it off the top of my head here, you guys. But this one even is older, was written, I think, before the series started on TV. Okay, the other thing that I'm doing is every summer the teachers at our school do a Bible study together. And I actually never heard of this until I came to teach at my school. And like, I've always heard of Bible studies, but I thought people just sat down with the Bible and they read a couple verses and talked about it, whatever. But apparently there are these books that somebody puts together and you study something. And up till now, the lady's name, Beth Moore, has been someone that we typically use for Bible studies. This time though, it's Kelly Minter, and she is having us study the book of Ruth. And so while I'm gone, my school group will be meeting twice. And so I'll have 2 weeks. And then the other really cool thing about this is she has a video series that goes along with it. And so you do a daily, like there's a 1 week, 5 days worth of like reading and homework, workbook type pages. And then there's a video to go with 1 week. And so I'm going to be doing that. Probably I'm going to do this on the way, week 1. And then, yeah, and you guys, I know this sounds crazy, but I just generally do the 1 week in a sitting. I know, rather than do a little bit each day, I just sit down and go through all 5 days at once. You know what? And I do it. I mean, I'm still learning, so whichever way is best for you, that's how I do it. So I'll probably do the week 1 on the way to Alaska, then probably tuck it aside, and then on the way back on that next 5-hour flight, well, I'll do week 2, and then I will join my group for week 3, and I'll be right on track. So I'm bringing my Bible and Ruth. The really cool thing about this Bible study, you can do this by yourself, but you can also do it with a group. This gal, Kelly, apparently she loves cooking, and I didn't see this until yesterday when I was flipping through this. I'm trying to find it here for you guys. But each week she includes a recipe. This first recipe I won't be able to make because my son is allergic to fish, but it's a grilled salmon with lemon sauce. So that's kind of the first time I've ever had that where a recipe was included each week. But I guess she's including her hobby in the creation of this Bible study. Okay, so I'm bringing the Bible study, all right? So those are the three like reading type activities that I'll be doing. Then now is all the yarn stuff. So if you survived all that, hopefully you did, and you're not like, oh, this is so boring. Because of course I'm going to be doing some yarny stuff while I'm there. The first thing I've got that I thought I would show is I'm going to tackle this sock. Ooh, I just dropped something on the floor here. So what I have here is the sock I made last summer. You see that? I made it and I love it. And in this bag here is the start of the second sock. I started going through it, and I don't know that I necessarily remember what I was doing, but the problem that I kept having was I was trying to make the toe and it kept getting backwards. So I obviously gonna have to unravel this. My stepmom is the one that has been teaching me how to knit socks, and she is on this voyage as well. And so we will have some good time to work on that. So I'm bringing that, the sock, the needles, and all that. Interestingly enough, though, if you are traveling on an airplane, you need to bring circular knitting needles. Well, luckily I'm using those. The pattern that I've been using is the Sockmatician Toe-up. And I will put a link in the description. I believe you get this from Ravelry. And there are some videos associated with this that the Sockmatician includes to help show you how to do certain things. It is very difficult. I'm going to tell you on a scale of 1 to 10, in my mind, this is a 10. The toe part, maybe I'll show you. The toe part all the way to the heel, I felt was simple. But when it got to this part right here, to the gusset, the German short rows, and all this jazz, if you can see, you have to make it a lot sturdier. Do you see the difference in the way the fabric looks? That's because that's your heel, and that's where you would wear it out. So if you were to look at the sock, it kind of goes like this. And then you have to start and do this, all this jazz, this German short row. And then you got to hook up to the ankle. And then this is like a hat, so I can handle that, the ribbing. So I'll put a link in the description to the Sockmatician. So hopefully that last sock will be knitted. I'm gonna be honest, last summer when I did it, it only took a couple weeks. I just had to meet with her to get it started. And then I had to go meet with her to do the gusset or the heel or the German short rows, whatever. And then I can finish the sock. Okay, the next thing that I have 2 more things that I'm gonna show you, and then I'm going to give you a tip. What? Summer's tips and stitches. I'm also gonna be working on hats. As you know, or you don't know, I knit hats. Oh my gosh, I almost lost a stitch. For my 2nd graders, I need to get started on them during the summer. Number 1, it's one of my favorite things to knit, and I just feel really accomplished, and I have to make about 20 of them. And Christmas comes real quick, and once the school year starts, I feel like I have less time to knit hats. So I like to get a good 2/3 of them knitted over the summer. I finished one. I made this with, I love this yarn. Right down here, I got this in a swap in the colorway Emerald Pine. Now, I'm gonna say a little something about that, and then I'm gonna show you the other 2 that I'm making. So I just made a video comparing knitting with a variegated yarn and crocheting with a variegated yarn. Let's see how I look in this hat. And I was just showing you guys the difference and maybe fussing a little bit. Like, how fair is it that when you knit, you get these beautiful striping patterns, and then when you crochet with the yarn, it doesn't look the same. And I mean, that's all. I was just saying that a lot of these variegated, because I did not know that until I started knitting. I'd always crocheted with them. I loved the way it looked. Everything was great. And then I started knitting hats and I was like, wow, these same yarns that I used from, like, I love this yarn from Hobby Lobby that I had used before to make baby sweaters had such a different color layout when I knitted with them. And I was amazed by that. And then I started feeling like, oh, these yarns are made for knitters, not really crocheters. And then I had a lot of lovely comments in the below explaining. And so I thought maybe I would just say a few of those comments, but also, I mean, these are the reasons, and I do know part of it is that a crochet stitch uses more yarn than a knit stitch. We all know that, because when you go to make a sweater, you can use like half the yarn if you were to knit it than if you crochet it. So the color layout is kind of ruined with the crocheting because you use the yarn differently. And again, while you're knitting, you're weaving in round rows and it's just pulling the next loop through. Whereas crocheting, you're wrapping and twisting. So it kind of changes the overall layout, if you will, of the color pattern in the yarn. A few people also suggested, why don't you just use your own yarn? Knit solids. And absolutely, I have knitted in solids. I have crocheted in solids. It's just sometimes when you see these really fun yarns, you know, you want to use a variegated yarn. And I'm just telling you that in my mind, I always looked at them and thought, I never really loved the variegateds with crocheting. I liked the colors, and sometimes you can partner it with a solid and it kind of gives it this really fun look. And so I know that I can do that. It's just, I thought, I was just relaying my thoughts that I think variegated yarns are made for knitters. Okay, so yes, I can use striped yarns. I can use the mandala cakes because they have a longer difference. They have a longer length before they switch to a new color. So it makes it look a little nicer for crochet because you use more yarn in a stitch. But I do enjoy knitting the hat. I feel like, whereas I'm a crocheter at heart, there are some things that I realistically think do look better knitted. And I do think sweaters, socks, and hats look better knitted, maybe even gloves. I think mittens are great crocheted, and I can whip out a pair of mittens in an hour if nobody's bothering me. Baby blankets, 100%. Blankets and Afghans should be crocheted. There's no reason. I knitted a baby blanket just a bit ago, and it took 100 years. But I will say, whereas when I'm crocheting a baby cake with the mandala cakes, I need to use 2 of them, and sometimes it's a little small and I would like to use like half of a third. But when I knitted the baby blanket with the mandala cake, I just needed 1. So, but I will say the time, the pattern, my ability at knitting is very limited. And so crocheting a blanket is probably ideal. Booties, slippers, okay? So I'm not betraying knitting or crocheting. I do think crocheting has its place, and there's some very lovely things that it can make, but I think also knitting is probably better, the way the fabric stretches and the way it lays and the color layout. Okay, but anyway, I will be knitting some hats in Alaska. I got this yarn from a swap, but also these are Hobby Lobby yarns. I love this yarn. The first time I ever saw this, I gave it into a swap. I sent it to Pixie, who is in Australia. I don't know that she's active on her YouTube channel for crochet anymore. This is Surprise Stripe, and I did a swap with her, and she really, really, really wanted some cheap American yarn. So I got her some Red Heart, and I love this yarn, and I sent her, and I love this. Oh, I was gonna show you. I'm just started the brim, and it's looking really cute. It's like a pink kind of camo. Okay, and the other yarn that I'm bringing to make a hat, and I probably can make 2 hats out of each skein with leftover, is this blue Oasis Beat. This is a pattern that they've included, but that's obviously not the colorway of Oasis Beat. So it'll be interesting to see what that looks like. So I'm only bringing knitting, which is crazy, isn't it? But that is the projects I'm bringing. 2 to 4 hats and a sock. Okay, Of course, I'm using Ross's hat pattern. I say that's the only one I ever use. I would like to try another hat pattern. I did try a toe head, which uses sock yarn, but it's still the same thing. You do, I keep forgetting what it's called. Knit 2, purl 2, knit 2, purl 2 to make the rim of the hat, and then you just do knit and then a decrease. Okay, so that is what I'm bringing to Alaska. Here's my tip, the one thing that I thought I would show you. I saw this on Facebook, Yarn Yay. I'm in the Yarn Yay Facebook group because I used to get their subscription box, and somebody had posted this, and I thought, oh my gosh, what a clever idea. I have a ton of these. So if any of you have kids or see kids pretty much, teach or grandkids, nieces, nephews, these little poppets are all the rage. Now, this is what I saw that was really interesting. Somebody on this Yarn Yay, they shared it in a group and then Yarn Yay shared it. They took a Sharpie, a black Sharpie, and labeled all of these, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and put a number in order, obviously. They labeled each of these little bops. Then as they finished their row, so if you're on row 4, you finish row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4, you put it down. And each time you finish a row, you just push it down. I think that's really clever. I mean, there's all kinds of ways to stitch count. There's actually stitch counters. You have to click these little things. You have to twist these little things. There's some kind of a bead counting system on a chain. But this is just one more different way. I mean, do what works for you, which is why it's nice that there's so many different ways to do things, because all people are different, right? We're all unique. And I thought this was cute. And at being a second grade teacher and a mother of 3, I have got a lot of these laying around. In fact, my son had just got this in part of his birthday gift as a gag gift. And he's like, hey mom, do you want this for your class? And then I thought, I want it to label it. Now, obviously, the size of your poppet will determine the size of your project. If you need something that has a lot of rows, you might want to get a bigger poppet. And you can buy those at Hobby Lobby. I'm not going to lie. I bought 2 of them on clearance last summer. One of them is a pretty big circle, and one is a hexagon or an octagon. And I actually, with my behavior program in class, when they're good, they get tickets. And they could cash their tickets in, 15, I think, and they could have one of those big poppets on their desk, and they could just sit there all day while they were listening or working and popping. So I just thought I would share that little tip. It's a cute way to, label these with your numbers, and that's a cute way to check what row you're on, to record your rows. I typically don't do anything at this point that needs my rows counted. The hats I measure by inches. Okay, so that is the end of this video. It's a 17-minute video. I hope you enjoyed that intro. That was something Jer wanted to do, and we thought it was funny. And that's what I'm going to be packing. I'm going to put this video probably online tonight or maybe tomorrow morning, and that will be my last video. I'll take 2 weeks off to be in Alaska. I might post while I'm up there. I don't know the Wi-Fi situation. Obviously, Seta lives there, and other people live there in other towns, and so there is internet. But I also don't know that I want to be worrying about YouTube videos while I'm on a vacation of a lifetime, right? So that is that. That's the end of this video. When I get back from Alaska, the 24th of June, so that will be a bit of time. We then have an appointment for Flynn in Chicago, which is an answer to prayer, and that's the lymphatic specialist. And we're going to be arriving in Appleton on the 24th to come to our house. Then on the 25th, we're going to drive to Chicago, which is like 3 hours away, get a hotel, because the morning of the 26th at 8 a.m. is his appointment at Chicago. And I mean, we could have woken up at 4 a.m., but traffic, all that, we just decided to go down the night before. So that will be happening. And so that might put back my posting a little bit more, that trip down to Chicago University. Please pray for the doctor, that he is feeling smart and amazing and on his game, so that he feels comfortable treating and giving surgery to Flynn. All right, you guys, thanks for watching and subscribing. Thanks for liking and sharing my videos. And until the next video, happy crafting for 2 weeks. Bye.